You know the sound. If you've ever spent time in a city with a big Chinese community, say Taipei or even Vancouver, you've definitely heard it. It's that sound drifting out of a car, a little shop, or maybe a karaoke bar. It is the sound of the Chinese love song.
And it's this weird thing, right? It feels so incredibly personal, but at the same time, it's this massive, shared experience for hundreds of millions of people. This melody of sadness, it just feels so real, so organic. But what if it's not entirely natural?
And that's the big question we're diving into. Is this collective feeling just a coincidence? Or is it something more deliberate? We're going to look at the Chinese love song not just as art, but as this highly engineered system, something designed with a very specific purpose in mind.
To really get it, we need to look at the actual blueprint. You see, these songs aren't just written, they are built. They're constructed to create a very specific emotional response, almost like a piece of precision machinery. And this engineering all happens under what you could call engineered constraint. It's shaped by three really powerful forces: a very specific musical code that basically dictates emotion, the super strict rules of the Chinese language itself, and, maybe most importantly, the demands of how these songs are actually used out in the real world. Okay, so first up, let's get into the music itself. We're going to peel back that first layer and look at the actual musical DNA that makes these songs hit so hard. At the absolute core of so many of these ballads is a kind of secret weapon. It's a chord progression known as the Royal Road. It's this four-chord sequence that's just incredibly effective at creating a feeling of, well, noble sorrow. It's this beautiful, bittersweet ache, and it's not magic, it's more like a repeatable science. And what's so cool is that this progression is basically a tiny four-act play about love and loss. It starts on the fourth chord, which feels a little unstable, a little shaky. Then it moves to the fifth, giving you this moment of striving, of hope. But then, bam! Instead of resolving, it drops down to a minor third. That's the disappointment. And it all ends on the sixth minor chord, settling into this feeling of just resignation. It's literally the story of unrequited love, told in just four chords. Now, layered on top of those chords, you've got the melody. And this is where you can almost hear this ghost of traditional Chinese music. It uses an old-school five-note pentatonic scale. And because it avoids certain notes, the melody doesn't have a lot of tension. It kind of just floats, you know? It gives these super modern pop songs this deep, timeless, almost ancient feeling. Okay, so that's the music. But the next layer, this one to me is maybe the most fascinating constraint of them all. We're talking about the language itself. The rules of Mandarin and Cantonese basically dictate how these songs get made. So you've got two main players here, Mandopop and Cantopop, and they play by completely different rules. In Mandopop, the melody is king. You can kind of ignore the tones of the language to make a beautiful vocal line. But in Cantopop, whoa, language is a tyrant. It has 6 rigid tones, and if the melody doesn't match the tone of the word, you're literally saying something else entirely. It becomes this insane lyrical puzzle for the songwriter. And if you want to see the perfect example of this, look no further than the artist Eason Chan. He released the exact same melody as 2 different songs. The Cantonese version is this dense, philosophical poem. The tough rules of the language force the lyricist into this beautiful metaphor about love. But the Mandarin version, it's a direct, totally relatable story about being burned out from modern dating. Same music, 2 completely different worlds, all because of the language. So a song has to sound right, and the words have to fit. But there's one more hurdle, and it's a really big one. To truly have a long life, a song has to pass the karaoke test. Yeah, there's this idea called the KTV imperative, and if you think about it, in the West, a huge hit is often something you just listen to in awe, right? You're not trying to sing like Beyoncé. But in the Chinese market, a real hit is defined by something else entirely. Can you sing it? The whole point is for everyday people to perform it. And that's why the most popular, longest-lasting songs are built with a secret limit. That number you see? 1.5 octaves. That's the typical vocal range. It's totally on purpose. It's designed so that pretty much anyone can grab the mic and belt it out without too much trouble. And the whole structure of the song is basically a recipe for a great karaoke night. You get a short, catchy intro so you know exactly when to start, then a nice slow verse to warm your voice up, and then, boom, that huge climactic chorus. That's your hero moment. The whole thing is engineered to make you feel like a star for 3 minutes. Okay, so for decades, this was the formula. This was the blueprint. But that's all changing. A brand new, really aggressive force is coming in and just tearing up the rulebook.
We're going from a world designed for a 3-minute performance in a karaoke booth to a world that's all about a 15-second hook on a phone. The goal isn't the performance anymore, it's the viral video on platforms like Douyin, which is China's version of TikTok.
And this has created a whole new genre, the Douyin ballad. That slow build-up, it's dead. Songs just slam you with the chorus right away. The harmonies are simpler, more repetitive, and the algorithm just keeps feeding everyone what it already knows they like, so everything starts to sound kind of the same. The main test isn't, can you sing it anymore? It's, will it go viral?
So when you look at the whole picture, it's pretty amazing. From the harmonic code for sadness, to the linguistic puzzle of Cantonese, to the social function of a karaoke room, the Chinese love song has always been this brilliant, complex system, a vessel perfectly shaped by all the pressures around it.
Which brings us to one last big question. A song can be a masterpiece when it's constrained by human language and culture. But is it still a masterpiece if the main constraint is just an algorithm? As the main pressure shifts from a human voice in a room to a retention algorithm on a server, you gotta wonder, what happens to the soul of the song? And that's the question that will probably define the sound of Heartbreak for a whole new generation.